It's time for Tastemaker Talk, the podcast for food creators who want to level up their business and make an impact in the creator economy. I'm Abbey Rodriguez.
And I'm Chandace Probst. We're your hosts and fellow food content creators here to dive deep into the trends, tools, and topics shaping the industry around us. There's so much to uncover, so let's talk about it. Tastemaker Talk.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode. I always want to say welcome to this special episode because they're all special, but we get to talk about bridging creativity and technology with Kelli Quinn, and she is a dear friend of mine, and also we have become colleagues in a sense. We've been able to work on some fun creative projects together, and to start off this conversation, we will be talking about AI and how it's evolving fast and where creatives fit in. And Kelli is an absolute expert on that. But we were chatting on Marco Polo. Actually, it was earlier today. Or was it yesterday? Doesn't matter. Details don't matter. Also working on not rambling. My point is that Kelli is an incredibly multi-talented creative person. And I have the pleasure of surrounding myself with just badass women that fall into that. And we hail from the same social circle of these really incredible entrepreneurial women. So I'm super excited to be chatting with Kelli. She is a human systems integrator and AI executive specializing in the intersection of creativity, leadership, and emerging technology. She helps people reconcile tensions that others avoid. With over 2 decades in the creative industries and extensive experience across corporate leadership, marketing, and AI, she brings a rare perspective at the intersection of creativity and technology. Her work helps creatives and entrepreneurs understand why judgment, adaptability, and perception are becoming the new competitive edge. So welcome, Kelli.
Hey, thank you so much.
So I don't even know if we're going to follow an agenda here, but where do we even start? How do you tell your story, like your origin story of how you even got into this space? Because you are truly one of the most multi-talented people I know that you're like, oh, I've done that before. Oh, I've done that before. And I'm like, have you lived 9 lives already? Like, how? Tell us how.
Thank you so much. Honestly, it doesn't make sense time-wise. I'm almost 40 years old, but the amount of jobs I've had, it somehow doesn't add up. So I am someone who, people tell you to pick a lane, and I just don't like to pick a lane. I like to do all of the things. And I started out really young as a photographer, doing freelance photography work and working in the corporate space. So I did both alongside of each other for decades. And I was fortunate enough to get to work for companies in their infancy enough that you get to wear a lot of hats and you get to try a lot of things. And so I've been able to do a bit of both. I've been able to get to experience what it's like being a creative entrepreneur while also working in the corporate sector and what that's like with hiring and having big teams and managing different people. And I actually got divorced 3 years ago, and I was like, I'm going to see if I can go all in on photography. I'm going to see if I can do this and make it work financially. And I did ish. I made it work financially. I did not make it work in the work-life balance department. I was like, okay, we did it. Super proud of myself. That's empowering. And also, this is not sustainable. Like the way that I'm doing this, it's not sustainable. There's got to be a better way. And I know that work-life balance is this big topic. And I was like, okay, I got to try something different and see if I can find a better balance in my life. And I got offered a job at an AI company. And I was like, what am I even like? I have mega imposter syndrome. I'm like, I'm not a tech bro. I'm not like I'm a creative. And I always used to think a creative is like in this artsy category, right? A creative is an artist, a writer, a poet, a photographer, a painter, like in these realms that we've been sold, this is what creativity is.
Yep.
And luckily this CEO, a good friend of mine, he's like, no, I need you because you're creative. So he's like, creativity doesn't end there. Like you can be creative in anything. And working here at this AI startup, working for this company, it's been so beautiful to watch these programmers and these data scientists like code and create things in such a beautiful way that is not anything close to what I traditionally thought creativity was. And it gave me this new outlook of like, creativity is actually how we view life, how we approach life, how we show up in the world. It's not necessarily what we produce. You could be producing, a website or this insane code or a book. Like it could be anything. It could be how you parent. I definitely
Hmm.
consider myself a very creative parent. So it's just how you show up in the world. And it's been beautiful to realize like, oh, I can integrate these things. I can integrate creativity and tech. And then because I've been a creative entrepreneur, I'm like, I can help other people integrate the tech into their
Hmm.
creative entrepreneurship so they don't have to bail like I did. They don't have to be like, can't do it. This isn't sustainable. They don't have to jump ship and go work a corporate job if that's not what they want to do. Or if that is what they want to do, great. I've found success in both places. But that's my passion is to be like we can have things that are seemingly opposed and we can integrate them in a way to make our jobs and our lives doable and ones that worth living that we're proud of. So,
You so wonderfully hit the nail on the head of, I think, a lot of the sentiment and feeling that food creators are going through right now. And I've mentioned this on other podcasts and just countless conversations we have with food creators specifically, for context. It's like the last couple of years has been, oh, AI is coming for us and they're going to replace us and they're taking our jobs. We've all chilled out a little bit. We all realize, no, with new technologies emerging, we just have to adapt and figure things out, and then we adjust and move forward. But with that, right, like there are people that are still like, my traffic dropped because a lot of our people at Tastemaker, they are really successful website recipe publishers and make a ton of their money and ad revenue from their website. And so seeing that shift has been interesting because there's people that are kind of like you said, when you're like, "Bleh, I can't handle the hardship of this. I just want to sell my website and be done and go do something different. Maybe it is time for me to like throw in my cap and I'm not going to be a creator anymore. I don't want to try to have a recipe website. I don't want to do any of it." So I'm just curious, like your thoughts and your own experience for the people in this room specifically. Like, what advice would you give to them then?
yeah. So being a creative entrepreneur, specifically like if you're this food create content creator, but it applies to lots of creative entrepreneurs.
Sure.
It's a
Yeah.
wild experience because you go into it thinking like, oh, I love to cook and I love, maybe you also are a wordsmith and I want to write about it and I want to share this message with the world. And you don't necessarily think about the fact that it's like doing this means I'm also going to be an accountant and I'm also going to be a marketer and a social media manager. And then I'm also going to be, and you insert all of these
Hmm.
roles that you are now in charge of when you have this creative business.
Yeah.
And those aren't necessarily your passions or the things that you're even good at or skilled at or trained in. And we're gritty and we figure things out along the way and we make it work. But I think, at least for me, that's where the burnout came, is it's like I
Hmm.
love shooting, like photography. I loved working
Yeah,
with my
you're talking to the
clients.
right people here. A lot of them are videographers and food photographers, and they love that part, the
Perfect. Like
creation.
I was
Hmm.
obsessed with that part. The storytelling, the creative direction, coming up with the whole concept, like
Hmm.
that lit my soul on fire. And then I found myself spending the majority of time by myself with my screen doing all the other admin stuff and all the other things. And my soul was just like leaking out of my body. And that's where it became like, I can't keep doing this. So here's where I think we can use technology and AI and collaboration to help in that realm. So let's say you're a food blogger and you sit down and decide what lights me on fire. What do I like the most about my job? Write it down. Like what are the things that like I get excited about? What are the things I would do for free? Like I like it so much,
Oh, that's
I
a
would
good
do this
question.
shit for free, right?
Yes.
What are the things you find yourself talking to friends about or like you can't help but like notice out in the wild, or you're at a
Hmm.
restaurant and you're like, "Oh, I have to recreate this meal. Like what's in it? I need to,
Hmm.
like I want to go home and like make this at home." So figure that out first. What do you love? What lights you on fire? Put that in a little box. Then you have to decide, what are my values? What do I value? Like, what kind of life am I trying to create? So if you're someone who's like, I do want to get buried in my work and work 70, 80, 90 hours a week, great. I imagine most of us probably are not in that boat. I imagine lots of us have families and we want a little bit of
Mhm.
time freedom and we want to be able to spend time with the people that we love, and we value that. But we also value creativity and curiosity. You have to find out, okay, what matters to me? And
Mhm.
then we decide, all right, what are we going to do about it? So if I were to be a food, I'm going to just go back to being a photographer, or I were being a photographer again, I I know that I love storytelling. I love the creative direction. I love shooting. I Editing isn't my favorite part,
Ugh,
but it is
sames.
part of telling the story. So
Hmm.
anytime I've outsourced it, I've been a little underwhelmed because it's like it's not telling the story how I was intending to tell it. So if I were to do it now, I would train an AI model to edit like I want to edit, to tell stories how I want to tell stories. I would train that technology and I would use my knowledge, my magic, my wisdom, my know-how, everything I've collected over the years to train it to edit in the way that I like to edit. Because if I could outsource that computer time, absolutely. Right. And we don't,
So hold on. I want to stop
okay.
you right there. You're talking
Yes.
to a lot of people who are shooting their own work, both photography, videography. A lot of them also outsource it now, but like I have heard from a lot of people, they're like, I want to maintain creative control over this. Are you telling me that there are AI compatible systems for like Lightroom, whatever? There's some other, there's another one that I'm blanking on right now.
Like
That
there's Photoshop, Lightroom. Are you talking about editing softwares?
Yes, I am. Rachel Kornick
Um,
uses it and talked about it. It's like another emerging one that's become
okay.
popular. Anyway, you're
I've been
telling
out of
me,
the scene for a couple of
okay,
years, so I don't
let's
know.
just use like Lightroom, Photoshop,
Okay.
their AI capabilities. Like you can essentially go in and train your own little agent that's a replica of you.
Yes. And I will say, I was just dabbling in that when I exited the photo world. So I
Hmm.
won't be able to give you specific ones to speak to that. I could do some
Sure.
research and find
Yeah,
the ones that are emerging now because AI is changing so fast that
sure.
what I was training 2 years ago, I'm sure we're
Yeah,
10 steps beyond.
yeah.
But I can say, like, I used an AI platform in my current role at VEOX, the AI company I work for. I had a vision for our website, and I'm not a web developer, but I have a lot of background in graphic design, and I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like. I knew what I wanted it to do. And so I used a platform called Cursor, and I trained it to think and work like me. And I like built up some mocks, and I'm like, here's our style, here's our flow, here's our font, here's our brand package. And I trained it, and between me and my know-how and its ability to web develop, it built our website for us.
Hmm.
And so, yes, you could apply that to also, like, if you're a food creator and you're like, I want more creative control, your creative control is in training your AI. It's in training and teaching it how to think like you and be like you and do like you. But don't have it replace processes and systems that you enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
if you enjoy editing, great, you can do that. Have it help you with your accounting and your back end and your bookkeeping, and like have it help you with other things. Or you don't always have to outsource to a computer. You can outsource to other human beings.
Hmm.
If I would have outsourced like even just taxes to a human being sooner, I that would
Yeah.
have lifted a load off of me that I didn't realize was so darn heavy while I was carrying it.
Well, I think an important part of this conversation, and just one we've been having about creators in general, is what do you still own that AI will never be able to replace? And it's your distinct point of view and voice as a human. And so, like just my value system, when I have the mic, I am usually a proponent of, hey, I don't think you should ever outsource your voice if you can avoid it. Like, I mean, we dabble with using AI, and like Daphne does a lot of our copywriting and things like that, just to use Tastemaker as an example. And there was a time where it was like we started using AI more heavily, and I feel like people, they can just tell. Um, and so I think like that's the hard thing for me, and I'm curious your thoughts on that. At what point, like, do you make that decision for your brand when it is those nuanced things that usually only a human is going to notice? That it's like maybe I hate writing, but like people are gonna know if it's just a bot talking to me. I want to hear from a human. So what's your thought on that?
Okay, people know. People
Hmm.
aren't dumb. They can tell. I'm actually going to give a personal example. I was chatting with a friend on Marco Polo. We're really close, and she was trying to have a vulnerable conversation with me. And she was like, "Oh, can I just like read my thoughts? I wrote them down. I just like I want to make sure that I like don't miss a point." And she starts reading, and as I'm looking at my phone, I'm like, "This is straight from AI. This is
Yeah.
not her. This is not her
Yeah.
voice. This is not how she talks." And
Hmm.
I totally called her out on it. I was like, I'm in relationship to you. I like
Hmm.
you. I'm not in relationship to whatever robot fed you that very crafted whatever that was. I stopped listening because I was like, no, no, like I have no interest in this. And I think as consumers, we stop listening. You know, you're scrolling on whatever social media platform, and the second I can tell it's like an AI person or an AI voice, I'm like, what?
Hmm.
Like, I want
Hmm.
nothing to do with it, right?
Yes.
So do not outsource your voice and your magic. Like the thing that you would do for free, it's probably because you're really good at it and because it excites you and because it lights you on fire. And chances are that thing, it also comes easy to you.
Hmm.
Sometimes we discount those things because it's like, oh, but that's so easy. And it's like for you, because that's your
Yep.
like dharma. I'm a little bit yogi. That's your like purpose. That's the
Hmm.
thing, right? So don't outsource that. Um, there is a magic sweet spot when you can integrate AI and yourself and people can't tell the difference. That's when I feel like
Oh,
you've
well,
like
tell
hit the
us
money
about that.
spot.
Give me an
Okay,
example.
example. So I spent, I mean, I don't know, months training an
Hmm.
AI to have the same voice as my boss because for a while I was his chief of staff and I needed to respond to things on his behalf and I needed it to sound like him. And I know him really well. But I fed so much content into this AutoML tool. I said, hey, I'm giving you this for reference. I don't need you to do anything with it. We're just crafting his voice right now. And I let it know, like, I'm going to be responding on behalf of this person, and I really need it to sound like him, to feel like him, and yada yada yada, right? So I trained
Hmm.
it. I like fed it things he'd posted on social media. I fed it emails he'd responded to. I fed it text messages he'd responded to so that it knew his professional voice, his casual voice, his social media voice. And I
Mm.
like trained and trained and trained. And anytime I like he would post something or put something out in the world that I'm like, ooh, that's very uniquely him. I would feed
Hmm.
it into the training and be like, hey, this is very uniquely him. This is his voice. He loves to push buttons. He loves to like ruffle feathers. This is his
Yeah.
voice. And so I did all that training. And then I'm still using my human person, my human soul and knowledge. And I'm crafting responses, you know, to people that are accurate, that are true. And I want it to have his voice. And instead of me wasting, I'm not going to use the word wasting, instead of me using a lot of my brain cycles and my
Yes.
time to like perfectly craft this like him, this AI knows how to talk like him. So I'm like, here's the
Hmm.
message I need to give to this person, and I need it to sound like Jepson. And
Hmm.
I put my human words in, and it do 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 do, and suddenly it doesn't sound like Kelly, it sounds like Jepson.
Yeah.
And when we're responding, I don't think people can ever tell if it's him or if it's me. I
Hmm.
think that's like the success point that we have found. So if you're a food blogger, if you're training it to have your voice and you want it to help you with some of your, like maybe you tell the story and you're like, hey, can you just do the instructional part of the recipe, but keep my
Mm-hmm.
personality. If I'm a snarky person, make it snarky, make it funny. Here's some examples of funny things that I say about recipes, you know, like
Hmm.
we got to fold in the cheese and I want you to put a little picture
What do
of
you
Schitt's
mean?
Creek.
Fold in the cheese.
Right? Like, here are my some of my favorite sitcoms. Here are the movies and the shows I quote all the time. Like, use those jokes.
Hmm.
And if you can like if you can train it well enough that you can't tell the difference, that's a good sweet spot. And also you don't have to have it do your writing.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want to.
Yeah. But to your point, like some people, like that is the part they do struggle with. They love the recipe creation, but it's like, ugh, I have to write. yikes. And I think like that's the biggest place, where it's like so visual in your face. It's like writing and a lot of times like the photo and video content that you're like, nope, I can sniff that from a mile away. So I think that that's really nice to hear actual experiences that you've had with it of like you don't need to be afraid of it and it's not like this horrible thing. And I think you also like get what you pay for too. Like it has become so advanced that if you're willing to pay for a subscription to whichever, AI model that you prefer, I think it's getting more sophisticated as time goes on. But to that point, I think another important part of this conversation is being adaptable because I think that's really the key place and phase that we are in with creatives learning to re-engage with AI. So talk to me about, why adaptability is the new stability as a creative and a creator.
Okay, so the technology's here, whether we like it or not, and it is
Hmm.
changing the landscape and it's changing the game. And I imagine there's probably a lot of your creators that are in this millennial category,
Hmm.
where we remember life without technology, and some of our parents may have stuck their heels in the mud and been like, "These darn computers,
Mm.
I'm not doing this," you know? And we embraced it. We were like, "Well, see ya. Good luck with that." And
Yep.
we're the ones helping our parents do anything that's needed with technology
We're the ones
because
who created the AI.
it's us. We're the problem. It's we. Like we've seen what happens when people stick their heels in and don't want to adapt, right? And if we go back to that example I gave earlier of like, what are you good at? What do you love? What matters to you? And what are you going to do about it? We can use
Mhm.
that with our adaptability. So if we don't know what matters to us, then like we might chase every new technology and every new shiny thing, and that's chaos. That's a recipe for disaster in business. But if we know what matters to us and we know like our vision of like what we want to create, then we can shift and we can be adaptable when we see a new tool come on the scene and be like, "Ooh, I'm going to try that." When I was a photographer, I got really good at Photoshop, like
Mhm.
really good at Photoshop. And then Lightroom came on the scene, and I was like, not doing it because I'm really good at Photoshop. And it took me so long to make the switch. And it was painful by the time I switched because I was
Mhm.
so set in my ways. So, the old school, if you just used Photoshop and not Lightroom, you use this program called Camera Raw. Anyway,
Mhm.
I was so set in that place that
Yeah.
switching over was so uncomfy. Like, so uncomfy. And when I finally got over that hurdle, I was like, oh, darn it. I feel real dumb because this is faster, this is easier, this has so much more functionality. And also, Photo or Adobe, they were moving that direction. So they were coming up with
Mhm.
all kinds of new tools and cool things you could do with Lightroom. They weren't developing Camera Raw to do that stuff. They were ready to like
Yeah.
nix Camera Raw. So if you're always aware of what's out there on the forefront, and you're willing, like if you have a community, hopefully you have a community. If not, start talking to other food bloggers, like, and talk to each other. Hey, what are you guys trying? What's working? If you don't have a group text thread with a bunch of food bloggers, start one. And maybe it starts with two people and you keep adding to it. I'm still on several photographer group text threads where people will just ask each other questions. And hey, has anyone tried this AI thing or this software or this program? And you guys can like help each other out, figure out, oh, this one is worth your time. This is
Mhm.
worthwhile. And you
Mhm.
can give it a go, kind of thing.
Yeah, I do think so. That's the interesting thing about food bloggers specifically, and food creators. I would say there's like two categories, which ours is largely food bloggers who are website first, and then they obviously have a whole presence and a social presence and lists beyond that. But then there's this whole segment of the new emerging creators are social first, you know, somewhat platform dependent, and so we're trying to like make sure everybody's talking together. But I do think that this group of food creators and food bloggers, they are really dialed in, and there's the Facebook groups and there's the different threads and things that they have going on, and there's a lot of chatter that does happen. And what I see, my hot take on this is sometimes I think there can be a little too much of a herd mentality that it's like, okay, well, this one group of people, they're saying this and we see them as the authority. So we're going to start doing this, and this is the way to be. And so I think like that has played into this a little bit of like, oh, we don't want to do that because this person said that. And so, what are your thoughts on or recommendations for not falling into like herd mentality, but also making smart bets and taking smart risks? Because you did have a good point too of like, you can't chase everything because that would be chaos. But I think the shiny new object syndrome can be appealing for the honors students of creators, which are also a lot of our food bloggers. It can be appealing because it's like, well, I want to have the most optimized best thing. So it's this balance of, well, I'm trying to listen to the herd mentality and I'm trying to make sure I'm being optimized. And I think that's where the chaos can like put you into this frenzy. So painting that picture, what would your advice be?
I love this question because it goes back to what I was talking about before. Who are you? What matters to you? What are you trying to accomplish? What's your vision? Where are you taking your business? Because that's what matters the most, right? So I think it's good. Let's listen to the herd. Let's see what people are saying. And then you also have to decide for yourself. So, an example in the tech company I work for, we started using this platform called Cursor. Everyone ramped up on it really quickly, and it was like insane the things we were able to pull off. Like, I was doing or am doing stuff I have no business doing, meaning designing websites, writing research papers in LaTeX, doing these technical things that like I don't actually know how to do, but I have the creative mindset. I also have the knowledge of what I want to put in it. And then it's doing the technical part that I don't know how. Now, we all fell in love with Cursor. We were doing great things. And then someone on our team was like, whoa, have you guys seen what anti-gravity is doing? And everyone jumped over there and started playing in it. And they're all raving. Now, I'm this the one female in the whole company who came from a very creative background, and the rest are very technical male people who
Mm-hmm.
have done all the technical, all everything. So I could have deferred to what they said. I could have been like, oh, they're all saying anti-gravity is the shit. Like, oh, am I allowed to swear?
Yes,
Okay.
go for it.
Like they're all saying anti-gravity is the shit. I could have been like, oh, I got to defer to them. They know better than me. And the reality is, no, they don't, because they're not doing what I'm doing. They're doing something different. So for them, that is
Mm-hmm.
working. And I noticed, oh, okay, anti-gravity on first pass gives me something better to start with. And Cursor is way better at fine tuning when I want to go in and fix and be nitpicky and get exactly what I want. So I'm actually just going to merge the two. But I had to know my strengths, what we talked about, like what are you good at, what lights you on fire, what would you do for free? I had to know what mattered to me. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had to trust myself because I'm not those guys. Just like, yes, you may be a food blogger and all those other food bloggers are saying one thing, but they're not you. They're not in your business. They're not in your life. They're not doing things how you do them. So the cool thing about these different platforms is most of them have a free trial. So you can like get in there and play with it for a minute and see, is this intuitive to me? Do I like it? Do I feel like I could do some fun things here? And a lot of the free trials for some of these bigger AI softwares are fairly long. A lot of them give you what's called tokens. So basically, how much output. It's not necessarily a
Mm-hmm.
length of time, but it's an
Yeah.
amount of work it's willing to give you. So like get in there and play with it and see. Because I trusted my coworkers and I value their opinion. So I'm like, all right, I'll get in and play. And then I was like, ooh, for me, it's doing one thing I like and one thing I really don't like. So I'll take the piece I like and use the other platform that I already have working for me. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to take the whole package.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that what you're doing right now is giving people permission to do things, which I think it's silly because we're all adults and we're running these amazing businesses, and sometimes I think we forget. Like you're allowed to do that. You don't need somebody to tell you that like, oh, you're doing that wrong or you're not. Like you're an
Right.
adult. Trust yourself. I
And
think
you're in
that's probably the
charge.
biggest nugget. Yeah,
You're
like
actually in charge.
permission to be in charge and make decisions, even if that goes against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
So, my final question for you before our rapid fire wrap up is what encouragement, words of encouragement, do you have for people who are feeling uncertain about the future?
This is another question that I love. and I'm going to give you a story about my 17-year-old. So when he was in kindergarten, his teacher asked him, she said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And he was like, "I don't know. It hasn't been invented yet." And she was kind of an in the box thinker, so she was pretty frustrated. And she's like, "Well, no, like, what do you want to be? Do you want to be like a firefighter or do you want to be a doctor?" And he was like, "Lady, I don't know what to tell you. My job has not been invented yet." He's like, "You grew up in a world without internet and you're acting like I'm the crazy one? Like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I'm going to be doesn't exist right now." And it's one of my favorite stories of his because that is how he does his whole life. He's a very out of the
Mm-hmm.
box thinker. But I want everyone who's listening to this podcast right now to ask yourself, like, the job I'm doing, the thing I'm doing right now, did it exist when I was 5 years old? I know mine
I say that
didn't.
all the time that I'm like, creators, what? Huh?
That wasn't a thing, right? And now we couldn't even put a number on how many online creators there are out in the world, right? So I know it feels scary. The AI is coming and there's a lot of fear around it's going to take our jobs and it's going to destroy humanity. And it's like, actually, humanity, we're pretty amazing. And we keep adapting and we keep shifting and we keep morphing. And I'm so happy that there's all of these jobs that exist now that didn't exist when we're 5. And like 20 years from now, what else is going to exist? What other cool jobs
Mm-hmm.
could we find ourselves in? What other incredible things could we be doing that we just have no concept of right now? So leaning into the excitement of what it could be rather than the fear of like, "Huh, it's going to take what I have."
Mm. And this is why Kelli Quinn is like living sunshine alongside Candace. Candace is also living sunshine. If the
I
two
need
of
to
you were
meet
in this
her.
room together, I mean, we would be blinded.
Everyone get your sunnies.
No, but I think that's good encouragement, and I know we talk about that a lot in this podcast, and because it's timeless, it's like just a timeless message to share that it's all gonna be okay. We are
Mhm.
okay, and it's gonna continue to be okay. And I
Mhm.
think that's reassuring, especially right now when the world is nuts.
Yeah, and to be intentional about it too, right? Like, don't let technology take the wheel. Like, the humans have the advantage. Let the humans decide what this thing is going to be.
Mhm.
And let's be intentional. Let's be responsible about it. But let's not live in like a fear space about it.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
You're
You're the best.
welcome.
All right. So we're rapidly changing to a different topic for our rapid
Excellent. I'm
fire
ready.
wrap up.
Ready, ready.
What song gets you absolutely fired up? Which one comes to your head immediately first?
Okay, Church from the Step Up 2 soundtrack. If you know, you know. Were you a Step Up girly, Abby? Were you not?
Okay, I'm dying that you're mentioning this right now because I was turning on my TV. You know those like random ass channels that are like the Romance Hub. That's like
Yes.
when you turn on because I stream everything. And Step Up was on, and I forgot the name of it because I was like, "Oh my gosh, the name of the show
I'm
is
sorry, you
Jenna
didn't
Dewan and
think.
Channing Tatum."
Yeah, I was like, you didn't think you were gonna marry Channing Tatum? You didn't
But
want
then
to be
right?
that like
I
female
forgot
dancer?
it existed, and it was like an immediate dopamine download that I was like, "Oh, remember their love." I was very sad when they got divorced because of that movie and the chemistry they have.
Right?
Anyway, we are getting on a tangent.
I will text you the song and just you're gonna have a good time.
We're linking it. It's our new anthem for
It's
the
a
week,
vibe.
for the month. All right, Church from Step Up 2. Immediately add to your playlist, everybody. And we're adding to our playlist. I do believe we have a Tastemaker playlist. Am I right
Ooh,
in assuming that, Daphne? Yes, correct.
correct.
Great. Okay. Ooh, this is so fun given that I know you and like you have already alluded to this is how you are a little bit. So if you had a completely different career for a year right now, what would you choose?
I would absolutely be a pop star. Like I'd
Oh,
be
you would crush. You would be singing the Step Up songs.
like if I could be Pink or Sam Ryder. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's got the pipes of an angel. Or like I'd settle for Benson Boone. I'd do a backflip off the piano. Why not? Yes, I would
I
absolutely
would I would
100%
pay
be
a
a
lot
pop
of money to
star.
watch you do that. Oh my gosh. I
I would
think you
take your
should.
money. I would take everyone's money. I
Yeah,
I would show me to the stage. I'm ready.
That is going to be your next career. That's it. After
In
this next
another
round,
life, for
pop
sure.
star. Oh, I
Pop
think it could
star.
be in this one.
Okay, I'll
Middle-aged
take some
pop star.
middle-aged pop star. I'll take some voice lessons.
Oh, well, Kelli, thank you so much just for spending time today and chatting and just giving our listeners advice. I think it's nice to get like a good old pep talk from people who are in the industry but not so directly in the vacuum of it all. I
Hmm.
mean, you are in the AI space and you are a creative. Like, by the way, Kelli is one of the best photographers I've ever seen. Like portraiture people. Like, ugh. Can you give
Thank
us some
you.
of like your favorites that you've ever taken so we can just like put it in our follow-up emails or show notes because they're
Ah.
so good.
Oh,
You
like
can't say you were a
send them to you?
photographer. Yeah, because you can't
Okay.
say I was a photographer and then like not let people see your work because you don't have anything that exists on the internet anymore. You
I
wily
know.
little minx.
I took a hiatus from
Hmm.
social media and we've dipped our toe back in as of like a week ago. So
Yeah,
we're inching back
it's
in
true.
there. But
But
I will
it's
send
not
you
your
a few
photography
things.
work.
That's true.
It's
It's
not
not
your
my photography
photos.
work.
So we do need a little, just like a little taste of your photography because it is so very beautiful. And you have the creative mind. The point is that the mind that you have is very much aligned with the people in our community. And I think creatives are special, wonderful people, but we can also really get into our heads. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your
of
wisdom with us today.
course.
So
Thanks so much for having me.
where can our listeners get in touch with you?
Right now on Instagram at Kelli Quinn, so KelliQuinn with an underscore at the end. Like I said, I took a hiatus as I was recalibrating my own values and how I want to show up in the world and what I want to pull off. And it's time. It's time to be back online and sharing with people and making it fun. That's my goal this time around is like making it fun and enjoyable and not quite so curated like I was when I was a
Hmm.
photographer.
Hmm.
I got stuck in that perfectionist trap a little bit, which got in my own
For
way.
sure.
So come
For sure.
along for the ride.
Well, we're excited to share where people can find you and hear more of your amazing insights. So, quick plug for Tastemaker before we go to 2027. It's in San Antonio in January. We would love to see you there because there's a lot of power in meeting with fellow creatives and creators and talking about these things together in a room. So, thanks again, Kelli, and we'll talk to everyone later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Tastemaker Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by leaving a review, giving us a rating, or sharing it with your creator friends.
And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.
You can find more from us on our website, tastemakerconference.com, or even join us for an event where we learn and grow as a community of creatives.
The conversation doesn't stop here. Talk soon.